So what makes a bad layout? What makes a good layout? And why do some coasters with bad layouts still manage to be good? First off, I think a bad layout is either something where there's elements that feel forced, elements that feel repetitive, or certain elements simply weren't the best option to put on the ride. A shorter coaster also tends to have a worse layout than a longer coaster because of having less elements. A good layout is something with a wide variety of elements. A lot of longer coasters tend to have a good layout. If they have a bad layout, that doesn't mean the ride is any worse, as long as what they do with the layout is awesome. If these rides don't execute these layouts, they probably wouldn't be good coasters. But since they do, here are the top 20 good coasters with bad layouts. Number 20 is Terran at Phantasialand. This ride consists of a launch, dips into theming, transitions around theming, and if the theming wasn't there, I don't know that we'd see that many people raving about the ride. I mean, the elements look fun, but it is very repetitive, and the ride just doesn't look like it would be as awesome of a coaster without the theming. This is lower on the list because of the launches, but it still isn't the best blitz coaster layout. Maybe inversions could help, like a Heartland roll. Number 19 is Sky Rush at Hershey Park. This layout is just kind of repetitive, and it's a very short layout. The ride drops, turns, goes through an airtime hill, turns, goes through an airtime hill, turns, does a Stengel dive, turns, goes through a twisted hill, through an airtime hill, and then turns into the final brakes. Oh, don't forget that it turns into the final brakes. Yeah, repetitive and short, not the key to a good layout. Number 18 is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. There's really only two exceptional moments on the ride. The rest is just alright. It has a drop, a hill, an overbank, a turn, 0G roll, some really slow-paced turns, another drop, and a tunnel into the brakes. It's not terrible, but it is kind of bad. That's why it's on the list, but they did what they could with the space they had, but I don't know. It's just not a great layout. Number 17 is New Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. This ride is just a drop, a bunch of pops of air, overbanks, and mid-course brake run. It's just not a good layout. It's just self-explanatory. I don't even gotta say much. It's the first RMC, which you can probably tell. It's fine for the first of its kind, but overall, the layout is very repetitive and just not that good. Number 16 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point, one of the greatest coasters ever made, according to the Golden Ticket Awards, GP, and our local enthusiast named Carter. Oh, what's the difference? But this ride certainly does not have one of the greatest layouts of all time. You go down the drop, an overbank, a hill, you kind of turn around, go through an overbank, go through a hill, then another hill, and an overbank into the brakes. I mean, like, what the heck is it? That's it? It has like 7 or 8 elements, and like 7 or 8 of them are all like hills and overbanks, like no variety. I mean, whatever, moving on. Number 15 is the Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. It has a couple drops, some turns, and some airtime pops. It literally is only good because of the speed and a couple of the hills towards the second half of the ride. I think this ride is overrated because of its layout. There's a few great elements, but other than that, what else is there to really offer? You cannot tell me this ride has a good layout. That's just not true. Number 14 is Ride of Steel and Superman Ride of Steel. I think we all know why this one's on here. It has a drop, a turn, a hill, a helix, literally nothing, a hill, a helix, and a few hills. It's like a dumb version of Millennium Force's layout, and even that was kind of dumb. I think everyone can agree that they're just not the best layouts. There are also prototypes, which makes sense. You can tell. Number 13 is Max Force at Six Flags Great America. This ride is one of those extremely short rides that punch. The launch is insanely fast, but really the ride is only that, a dog tongue, heartline roll, and a max dive loop. Literally, if you have an element called a dog tongue, it's already not looking too good for you layout-wise. At number 12 is Formula Rossa at Ferrari World Abu Dhabi. Fastest coaster on earth doesn't mean it's got an amazing layout. It all consists of just turning, basically, which looks extremely fun at 149 miles an hour. Well, a little slower than that because, it doesn't stay at that the whole ride. But It really is just transitions, and that's not a good layout to me. It doesn't offer too much, and its redeeming factor is that it's fast. Otherwise, this will be a pretty mediocre coaster probably. Number 11 is Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Studios Orlando. I think this coaster is insanely underrated. It has ejector, but the layout still isn't very good. I do like that it has a non-inverting loop, but other than that, there's just so many mid-course brake runs that it deserves to be on here. It's just mid-course brake run, drop, mid-course brake run, drop, which sucks, but the ride is still good. Number 10 is Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride is an awesome coaster. It's a family coaster though, but it has a couple launches, then a few twists that hurt the pacing, another drop, a weird hill, a weak inversion, a bunch of turns, another launch, and some more turns. It really is just a pure fun coaster. The elements aren't insane, the layout is repetitive, kinda, and the pacing is bad. Definitely a good coaster with a bad layout, especially when you consider that it's a blitz coaster. Number 9 is Goliath / Titan at Six Flags Magic Mountain / Six Flags Over Texas. Yeah, I get they're different, but they're both pretty much just as bad when it comes to layouts. These rides actually look fairly good, but it's just a drop, a turn, a hill, like mid-course brake run and helix pretty much. They just don't do a whole lot. They're tall and fast, but the layouts are trash. I don't think I'm alone on this one. This is definitely why these are considered bad hypers, which they're probably not bad. They're probably good, just compared to other hypers, maybe not as much. Number 8 is Incredicoaster at Disney California Adventure. It has a launch, some turns, a lift, like midway up for some weird reason, some more turns, vertical loop, turns, mid-course brake runs, turns, some bunny hops, and some more mid-course brake runs. Again, repetitive and just not insanely exciting. No special elements, just turns, dips, and MCBRs. I think this roller coaster looks great, but I wouldn't say the same for the layout. Number 7 is Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This ride has a launch, vertical loop, and some turns into a pause halfway through the layout. And then you'll be launched through the top of the loop and get stopped halfway down the drop by brakes. And that's your ride. There's not really much to say with this one. I honestly think I'd like this ride more than most, but there's a reason people make jokes saying, "Where's Full Throttle second half?" Number 6 is Patriot at California's Great America. This ride just fails miserably as a floorless. It has 2 inversions, and that's just simply not good. It also has a curved drop, which makes floorless drops worse. Most of the ride is just turns. Like, that's so bad. The ride doesn't really look that good, but it's still on here because it tries to be good. The layout is just too bad for it to actually be anything great. Number 5 is Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm. It's literally just a launch, a top hat, and some bank turns, and that's it. We're getting to that not much to say territory because there's really not much to say about some of these layouts. The ride, I know, is awesome, but the layout is just weak. Way worse than Storm Runner's layout, which actually has some sick and unique elements. Number 4 is the Intamin Top Hat Accelerators at various parks. If you don't know what I mean by that, basically, Kingda Ka, Top Thrill Dragster, Red Force, and Stealth. They launch, have a top hat, and come down. Unless you're Stealth or Ka, then I guess it's slightly more than that, but they don't really deserve to be a spot lower on this list. Everyone can agree that these are bad layouts, and some of you are probably wondering what could be worse, but there are still a few worse layouts out there in my opinion. Number 3 is Do de Dompa at Fuji Q Highland. I rank this higher because vertical loops are worse than top hats. The launch section is extremely short. 99% of the ride is just turning or a straight section. Again, there really should be no debate here. Definitely the worst layout in the park. It's a disgrace to some of the other layouts that Fuji Q's coasters have to offer. Number 2 is Superman Escape from Krypton at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Why does California have such bad layouts? Just a question. But anyway, this ride is just a spike. You spike and then you come down. That's it. There's barely anything to it, which means that there's barely anything to talk about. So moving on to the number 1 spot. But what could be worse? Number 1 is SNS 40 Free Spins. You go up the lift, go through a bunch of dips, and it's a very short ride. So yeah, I don't know what to say about it. I love these rides because of the flipping, but if they didn't move at all, if they weren't on an axis, then these rides would be so stupid. Everybody out there should agree that this is at least top 3 worst layout of all time. These are, in my opinion, fantastic rides, but their layouts are just atrocious. And that'll wrap up the video. Some other coasters that could have made it are 1. Mr. Freeze clones. I didn't include them because they do have a couple weird things that you just don't see very often on coasters. The spike is just a unique spike, and inverted top hat is very rare to see. Wiggle worms or intermittent pulses also could have made it, but I don't think they're good enough to make the list. Like, I'm not sure. I've only ridden Wicked Twisters, so I can't really tell. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think I missed anything? Do you agree with certain parts of the list? Let me know. Please share the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later.